Monique and this whole thing with DL Hughley. I think there's a little bit to talk about here in terms of business, race, politics, and all the things we talk about on this platform. So get comfortable, buckle up your seatbelt. We're going to get started on drboycetv.com right now.
Here we are, clan the isms, cataclysm, great. Our people out here struggling, trying to make it in this state. Everybody out here doing it, but we the ones too late. Now family, we the ones who gotta delegate. Get that money in the power, never be fake. Stick to cosign for 3. What did he say? Create jobs, support our own. Educate the same and buy back your home. Got 3 degrees, triple 10. 3 PhDs, now we on the CNN. DBTV, let's talk about negligence. Ignorance is bliss, but we can turn it to intelligence. Believe none of what you hear, half of what you see. Let's break it down here on Dr. Boyce TV. Here we are.
Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome to drboycetv.com, the home for intelligent Black people. My name is Dr. Boyce Watkins, and I want to say hello to everybody. What's going on, Black folks? How you doing? What's happening on Instagram? My Instagram is The Real Boyce Watkins. And I see you, Michael Johnson and Foxstone Flicks. Do me a favor, hit the thumbs up button, thumbs up, and also shout out your city. Let me know what city you guys are from. I always like to do a Black city shout out. I have been down this week. I actually had the Rona for a big chunk of this week, and it really kind of felt like the flu. But I am better and I am okay. So thank you all to those of you that were wishing me well during that time. And let me see here. So today I want to talk a little bit about something I wanted to ask you guys about. As I mentioned your cities here, I see New Mexico and Milwaukee and DC, Orlando, East St. Louis. Let's see here. I see Toronto, currently living in Miami, says Christine. Christine, okay. I love you too, sis. Brooklyn for Bravid. Is that Bravid or David? Let's say Bravid, okay. And Sanderville, Georgia, London, England. What's going on? Hello, everybody. What's going on? And I'm going to tell you that it was really disappointing to be sick this week because Jay Morrison and the Black House, they're hosting this awesome event down in Atlanta. And you guys know I have an office in the Black House, and I got an office in the Black House because I wanted to show support for what's happening at the Black House. The Black House, in my view, that's the new Black Hollywood. That's literally where you're going to see eventually $1 trillion industries emerging out of that. Atlanta has all the talent right now. Atlanta is the new Black Hollywood. It's not even the new Black Hollywood. It is basically just our Hollywood, in my opinion. And so I would encourage you, if you run through Atlanta, to go to the Black House. And also, I'm going down to Atlanta soon to meet up with another business partner by the name of Brother Ben X, and he's doing something called Hereafter Farms. And I became an investor in that project also because I saw what this young guy was doing, and I was so respectful of it. And then also Julian Gordon, another mover shaker guy that's just really killing it. He's having an event in New Orleans in July, and I'm going to go down to support that. So there are a lot of things happening, and a few other things I'll tell you guys about it. Actually, there's a movie premiere for a movie called Sugar in Philadelphia on the 16th of June that I want to check out. Giselle Martin's in that movie. So there's a lot of interesting stuff happening in your community that I hope you guys would just know about, and I'll keep you guys posted. So let me ask you all this. Did you all follow what was going on with Monique and DL Hughley? How many of you saw that Monique and DL had this little blow up and this back and forth, and Monique kind of went on stage and kind of, acted a fool. Let's just say she acted a little bit of a fool. In her mind, she feels that she was justified, and I'm not going to argue that point. But this is interesting, right? So I was watching this kind of go down, and Monique against the world has kind of been a theme that has been occurring, probably for about 5 years now. It kind of started with Netflix when she came into Netflix and basically said she wanted to get, a lot of money, for her stand-up. She felt that she should get what the men get. The men are signing these $10 million, $12 million, $20 million deals. She kind of felt that she deserved a deal in that same category. I think Amy Schumer, the white lady, got over 12 million or something. And I'm not going to argue that point. There is a whole economic conversation to be had, though, about the market. Basically, the big question in terms of whether or not somebody should pay you what you feel like you're worth, a lot of times comes down to whether or not they can see an aftermarket for that product. If they believe that they can make more money than they paid you, then they'll pay you that amount of money. If they don't feel that the market will pay them, the amount that justifies what they paid you, then that's not a good business deal. However, there are lots of ways to kind of look at that, right? And we can't look at what Monique was going through with Netflix or Hollywood or anything and not look at it through the traditional lens of racism and sexism and everything else that does exist in the world. These things do exist. These things are very real. We can't pretend like the Black woman gets the same opportunities as everybody else. In fact, if you look at Hollywood right now, remember Hollywood is, I'm actually in the Black Business School. Those of you who are in the Black Business School, and if you haven't joined, you really should join. You can actually get started for free. We're the best in the world at what we do. We focus only on Black wealth. We focus only on Black people. We focus only on the Black community. We focus only on Black families. So if you want to join us, just go to boycewatkins.com. You can get started for free. But in the Black Business School, one of the things I told my students to read is a book called How the Jews Invented Hollywood. An empire, actually the main title is An Empire of Their Own, How the Jews Invented Hollywood. And it's not anti-Semitic, but it explains the business of Hollywood, the business of making movies, the economic infrastructure that started the whole thing. And in order for you to understand how things work, you have to go down to the core. You have to go to the root. You got to go to the source. So if you want to understand the racism, sexism, and whatever ism that you see in Hollywood, well, you got to say, well, who's paying the bills? Because there is no anti-Semitism. There's very little anti-Semitism in Hollywood. Well, why is that? Well, because Jewish people built that thing, right? So with Monique, I empathize heavily with what Monique is feeling and what she's going through. And when I speak about Monique and DL Hughley, I speak very carefully in my own mind because I know them both. You know, I've known them both for years. And Monique has come on this platform with her husband, and they're very nice people. They've called me on the phone, and we've had conversations, and I did mostly listening. That's what I do most of the time when mainstream celebrities call me. I just listen and try to understand what's going on. I don't have much to say, and I like Monique. I like Monique more than I like DL Hughley. I've known DL Hughley longer than I've known Monique. I don't dislike DL Hughley. I just don't necessarily connect with DL. I don't agree with him politically on a lot of issues. I think that there have been times where he's just kind of really gotten on my nerves. But at the same time, here's the thing about DL though. DL is a professional, and Monique is a professional too. In terms of talent, you know, these two individuals are so talented. I can think about, here's the deal. If I'm making movies, I'd love to have Monique in my movie, because if you notice, most of the movies Monique has done, she made the movie. Like, she literally took the movie to another level. Did anybody watch? Give me a yes or no if you saw that movie. I think it was called This Christmas or something like that. And they put Danny Glover in it, and Monique was in there. She did a great job with that. Now, by the way, Tank 4082, I see your comment, and this is a platform for intelligent Black people, so I'm gonna have to put you out of here. Because you, when you make ignorant comments, you better be silent and stupid. Because if you're silent and stupid, you can stay. But if you're loud and stupid, then you're identifying yourself. You're playing your whole card, and you're gonna get banned for life. So just know, I see most of y'all, 99.9% of y'all are on point. You're cool. But we got a couple trolls that come in, and I just want to make sure I make that troll announcement. So if you're a dumbass, you better be a quiet dumbass, because the minute you say one dumbass thing, I'm going to ban you, and I will ban you for life. Like, you'll never, ever, ever be invited back. So just so you know that, I just want to give you that warning, so you don't say, oh, well, Dr. Boyce banned me because I said one thing. Well, you know what? We ain't got time for dumb motherfuckers up in here. We're trying to be intelligent Black people. And if you want ignorance, there's ignorance all over the world. You can go find it everywhere. There's an oversupply of ignorance for Black people. The ignorant Black people are on every channel of BET and every other network that you want to watch. And so we're trying to do something a little bit different. So anyway, let me keep going. So Monique, whenever she's in a movie, she always kills it. Whenever she's in the movie, Monique just brings that extra pop that makes the movie great. You know, she's that good, and her stand-up, meh, I'm not saying it's bad. It just doesn't do it for me the way. But when I saw her like in This Christmas, and I think, what was it, Roscoe Jenkins? Anybody remember that? Like, these was like some real good, like, you have like a plate of food that's like really good soul food that just like literally like is almost orgasmically good. Like you literally want to dance while you're eating the food because it's so good. Like some of her movies are in that category of being just amazing, right? That's a fact that doesn't change. What does become challenging and interesting to figure out, and I'm not even really going to state it in terms of taking a side one way or the other, is that when Monique comes in with a perspective, I'm not going to call it baggage. You could define it as baggage, but let's say a perspective that because I am an Oscar winner, I should get paid this much, or because I'm a black woman, they're mistreating me, and this ain't right. You should stand with me in this political battle that I have against the world, which we know is racist and sexist and everything else. I think that makes it difficult to do business. It kind of makes it a little bit more challenging when you're talking about this deal, for example, she had with DL, where DL, one thing you can say whatever you want about DL, but DL is he's a professional. He's a professional. I've seen him, on stage, and I met up with him not too long ago, right before the pandemic, and every time he handles himself, he always handles himself as a professional. And so I think that when Monique went on stage and then just took a set that was supposed to be about comedy, where she's supposed to be telling jokes and making people laugh and making people feel good, and then made it into an opportunity for her to engage in a political diatribe about herself, and DL used the right words when he said weaponized black femininity to kind of say, because DL and I got into a dispute, and because I feel that DL attacked me, it wasn't DL attacking me, it was DL attacking black women, right? He attacked me as a black woman, and so that means he attacked all black women, which means anybody who supports black women needs to be on my side, because and that's a little bit too much. That's too much and too far. I didn't agree with that. I thought that was, sure, any answer can be the right answer for you, but every answer is going to have a consequence, right? Every answer is going to have a consequence. So on one hand, you can act a fool and do whatever you want if you're prepared for what the consequences are. So Elon Musk, for example, he's a good example. He's a white man who acts a fool every day. He says things on Twitter that piss off half the world. There are lots of spaces he won't be invited to. He probably won't ever get a deal with Netflix. But Elon Musk also has wealth and resources and infrastructure of his own that doesn't lead him to need to ask for anybody's acceptance, validation, or involvement, or permission to get anything done. I'm sure he needs permission to a point, but he has a lot of independent power that allows him to piss a bunch of people off and still go out and manufacture more cars than damn near anybody else in the EV space. He can still go out and build that next rocket ship that's going to get him to the moon or to Mars or wherever he's trying to go. So what Monique did, here's what I saw. I saw what a lot of people see, which is this pattern, right? Where she's kind of had a beef with, I think it was Oprah and Tyler Perry and Lee Daniels and DL Hughley and Netflix, and etc. And I understand those beefs. I really do. There's a reason why I've never worked with any of those people. I've had engagements with every single one of those people, meaning that at some point our orbits have crossed paths. I was approached by the Oprah Winfrey Network many years ago about possibly doing a financial show because I wrote a book called Financial Lovemaking, which is probably one of the best books on love and money that in existence. I mean, my PhD's in finance. This is my science, and they were interested in me possibly doing a show, and we talked 2 times, and they were going to fly me out to meet some people, and it took 2 conversations for all of us to realize this isn't going to work. I don't want to be on the Oprah Winfrey platform. I don't care anything about your network. The compromises that you would be required for me to even try to navigate in that space are just too much, and I would feel like a fish that was pulled out of the water. I would literally feel like a fish out of water. I wouldn't be able to breathe. I would just literally just whittle up and die. So I walked away from the opportunity before they even made one available. And saying that Lee Daniels, I have mentioned to you guys, I think Lee Daniels is a sick son of a bitch. He's one of the sickest human beings out here. And I'm not just saying this because I'm trying to be an asshole. I'm saying it because I've studied this man's bio. I read his bio, and when I read something about, he mentioned his Jewish boyfriend, and I said, "Oh, I get it. Okay, so that's why you're doing so well in Hollywood, because you got the boyfriend that's hooking you up, or whatever." And then he said something like, "My kids have read not Mein Kampf. What was it? I'm sorry, the other book, the Anne Frank. They've read Anne Frank's book, three times, but they've never read Roots once." Right? He said something weird like that, with one of those weird Negro-pean kind of comments. And I remember thinking, God, what is wrong with this guy? And but this is what Hollywood does to you. This is why I'm a fan of the Black Hollywood, but not a fan of the old Hollywood, because they literally will take the sickest, most mentally dysfunctional Black people that they can find, and they make them into your superstars. They literally take the craziest, most messed up people ever, and they make them into icons, and you start looking up to the very people you should be looking down on. You literally end up idolizing, because remember, because you're a white supremacist too. You think that you're all free and liberated and all that. No, we're all brainwashed. We're all brainwashed. There's a process. We need to go through a cleansing and to be deprogrammed. And so ultimately, when I saw Lee Daniels get this show Empire, and he's spewing out all this toxic culture into the Black community, and everybody's thinking it's wonderful because he's getting Oscars and Grammys for it. This is the problem that you're dealing with. You're dealing with the fact that you can't win the game because you're in a game you shouldn't even be playing at all. You're letting them win the game by simply participating in the game. The fact that you're even there participating in the game and allowing them to make the rules of the game is allowing them to win the game. So that's why there is a that's why most of us can't get out the trap. The psychological trap is so vast that most people don't get out the trap because they don't understand that to get out the trap, you got to really get out the map. You got to step out the trap and the map. You got to step into another whole reality in order to escape some of this white supremacist stuff, because you'll get in the middle of a white supremacist infrastructure and do your best to be as pro-Black as you can and to fight the good fight. And then you find out that every corner you turn, the white man's always winning. Every time you run to the left, he's over there on the left. You roll to the right, he's ahead of you on the right. Well, it's because they built the whole system around. They built the whole mousetrap that you're in. And so you don't understand. You need to get out of the trap. Just get out. Just don't even participate. Non-participation. So with that being said, when you mention Monique's beefs, and I say this with complete respect to Monique, because I told you I love her. I like her. She's such a nice lady. I understand why she beefed with Oprah. I would probably be beefing with Oprah too. I understand why she beefed with Lee Daniels. Lord knows I would beef with Lee Daniels. Don Lemon did a whole segment on the Tom Joyner Morning Show dogging me out because I had heavily criticized his buddy Lee Daniels. I don't take a word back from that nonsense. Get out of here with that stupid stuff. Who else? I understand why she had an issue with Tyler Perry. I've met Tyler Perry. Talked to him on the phone one time. Let me just say this. I don't like. Remember, there's a reason Tyler Perry has $1 billion and you don't. Tyler Perry's not a bad guy. I'm not saying he's a bad guy. Tyler Perry is an enigma for me too, because on one hand, the reason Tyler Perry has $1 billion and you don't is because he's put on that goddamn Medea dress for 15 years. A Black man dressing like a woman and making money in Hollywood is the oldest damn trick in the book. And if Tyler had never put on the Medea dress, he would be this great iconic filmmaker that you're honoring and looking up to. Again, white supremacy puts you in these weird positions where you've got to do things that are unhealthy, weird, and dysfunctional in order to feel like you're successful, which means that the only way you can be successful without becoming a white supremacist is you must redefine success. You must find a way to redefine success on your own terms. So Tyler Perry has a big, plantation style studio, and he's making all these movies and he's making trillions of dollars because he puts on a Medea dress. I mean, let's just, go right with that. Okay. Does that make Tyler Perry a bad guy? No. When I met Tyler Perry, he was very respectful. I called Tyler Perry one time in 2014, and I said, "Hey, I'm coming to Atlanta. I'd love to do a tour of your studio." He could not make it, but he arranged for his number two in command to give me a 2.5 hour tour around the studio, and I was super impressed by what I saw. I saw a tremendous amount of respect for a lot of iconic Black actors and actresses that many of us love, from Cicely Tyson on down. I saw him doing things that I wish Hollywood had done a little more of. I saw him taking a lot of celebrities who were really well known in the 90s and really resurrecting their careers, and I was really impressed by that. And so I don't think Tyler is a terrible person, but again, I probably wouldn't be able to work with Tyler Perry. I cannot watch a Madea movie because I'm tired of seeing black men. I'm tired of seeing black men being portrayed as little bitches. I just don't like it. It's not of interest to me. It is absolutely counterintuitive to the battle that we're in to reclaim our families and to reclaim our communities and to reclaim our dignity. You can't reclaim your dignity as a man when you're putting on a dress and bending over and letting people shove shit up your ass just so you can put a couple nickels in your pocket. I'm not sitting here saying that some people aren't going to do what they're going to do, but when you are portraying imagery of the black male that is not consistent with us being the guardians and the leaders of the community, then some can make a point that this is not necessarily helpful or productive. So, with that being said, I understand all the beefs to a point. And it's ironic because every single one of those people I mentioned to you, except Lee Daniels, I would say, there are things about them that I like and things about them that I don't like. The Lee Daniels, I can't think of anything that I like about him. I don't like anything about what he does. The other ones, you know, I can pull the good out of a Tyler Perry. I see the good that he does for the world. I can pull the good out of even Oprah, you know. and so when you talk about Monique versus DL, I think that what you're looking at is something where it seems that Monique would have to make a choice. When you are seeking to be that political in the course of business, or you're seeking to be the activist in the room, you know, I'm going to raise hell. I'm going to be the freedom fighter. And I understand this because I've always been like that way since I was a little kid. When I was a little kid, my mother used to say, boy, your mouth will either make you great or get you killed. I'm curious to see which one. And that's because I hated injustice. I too run my mouth too much. You know, I speak up on situations where if I had remained silent, I could have made more money. I have been blackballed from things before. And when you choose that route, when you choose the fight the power route, two things you got to understand is, number one, your friends ain't all going to fight with you. You know, so Monique, when she goes to Black Hollywood and is working with a lot of black people who've gotten ahead by being pretty complacent, the Steve Harveys, etc., they're not going to go and fight this fight with you. They're not going to go to war with Netflix with you. They're just not going to do it. And is that necessarily bad? No, I mean, it's their right. They can make that decision. They basically just said, look, this is the way it is. We can go in here and make this money and leave it at that. And Monique was in that space, right? She won her Academy Award or best, was best actress. Is that right? Or I don't think it was best supporting actress. Was it best actress? I want to make sure I get it right. I don't want to be disrespectful, but because I don't pay attention to the Oscars and all that shit. That's stuff to me. Again, these are all things white people invented to make themselves superior to you. But if you believe in that stuff, then I support you. And it's because she deserved it, right? She's that talented. So she got her award. I think that if she were just playing the game and going along with the system, waiting her turn, doing what she was asked, she would have gotten all the rewards that come with that. She probably wouldn't have gotten Amy Schumer level rewards. She wouldn't have gotten, the levels of the awards rewards that a Dave Chappelle would have gotten, right? Because we know that sexism and racism are very real in Hollywood, but she would have gotten taken care of. She would have had more opportunities. And so if she's going to be an activist, if you're going to go out here and carry the torch, if you're going to go out here and scream, fight the power and throw up the black fist at every available turn, just know that there are going to be certain people who are going to say, I don't want any part of that. because that is disruptive to business. I want to do business. I don't want to do politics. I don't want to argue about gender equality in compensation. I don't want to argue about whether or not you got all the money you should have gotten from Netflix. I would rather figure out how to get the most we can right now and move on. So to me, in my view, Monique is better off in a scenario where she either owns her own production company, which maybe she already does, I don't know, or she is partnered with somebody with deep pockets who supports her point of view, who's willing to financially back her despite the economic losses that are likely to occur when you go to battle and go to war with institutions and individuals. And I only say this because I understand this life very well. That's the life that I had to build for myself. I had to build a whole life off the grid just to accommodate the sheer insanity that comes with the big loud fucking mouth of Boyce Watkins. I know my mouth is big. I know that I speak on stuff that pisses people off. I know that I ruffle feathers. Dude, think about this. There are people that get inferior financial advice from people who know far less than me just because they don't like my opinion on abortion, or they don't like what I said about racism, or they don't like the fact that I talk about black people so much, or they don't understand why I think hip hop is destroying the souls of so many of our children, right? They don't like all that. And I get asked that every time a lot of times I do interviews. They'll be like, well, don't you think it takes away from your message when you speak on these other issues? And I say, yeah, it probably does. I'm sure I've lost probably $20 million by now by being so opinionated, but it's okay. I've made $20 million by being who I am, and I'm okay with that too. And I think at the end of the day, you got to make a decision. You're typically, when you are the activist, and I think this is where I can circle it back to you guys that are making your personal decisions in terms of what you're trying to do. You got to just understand the nature of the life that you're choosing. And a lot of times you can't have it both ways. You just can't have it both ways. You can't be part of the establishment and be constantly fighting the establishment all the time. The establishment don't like that. You can't be successful in a white supremacist system and not be a white supremacist on some level. Even as a black person, you're going to have to let a whole lot of shit slide. So before you decide that you want whatever little carrots they're dangling in front of you and the little trinkets and rewards, and they catch you, they get you brainwashed from birth. They get you prepared and acclimated from birth to want what they got for you. And as long as they get you wanting what they got, then they've given themselves power. So the way to take away the power is to take away your desire to want the things that they are using to tempt you with. And this goes for almost anything in life that tortures you. Anything in life that's either being held over your head, anything in life that is being used to manipulate you, anything in your life that you really, really want and is causing you tremendous pain. The Buddhists actually have it all figured out. The Buddhists, they have one saying that says something like, you should want nothing. Because when you get to the point where you want nothing, you're absolutely 100% free. Now, I'm not saying you should get to the point where you want nothing, but I would say that if you do release the power of wanting something, make sure you want something that you can actually have where you ain't got to sell 10 pounds of your ass and your soul to go with it in order to obtain it. That's the point I would make here. So I would say with the thing with DL and Monique, I don't think that it's really a blame thing. I don't think it's a matter of saying who's right and who's wrong, whose fault it is. I think they're both right. I really do. I think that Monique has a right to, be upset about whatever she's upset about, and she's got a lot of issues. She's right. We live in a racist, sexist society. Yeah, they should be paying her as much as Amy Schumer, and they should be paying her as much as Dave Chappelle and all that, or whatever she thinks. Okay, fine. If that's what you believe, then make it happen. Right. And then I think DL has a right to say, look, man, I'm running a business. I'm running a business where we got investors and we're trying to make our money back, and we got customers that are in the audience and they need to be made happy. And you're giving them this big diatribe about your contract and your memos and everything else. And I think that when we try to get into the details of exactly what happened between the two of them, like I see somebody's asking about a contract versus a memo. Well, first off, I think, if you're doing good business, in my view, a memo and a contract should be just as good as one as good as the other. I mean, if we write it down and we make an agreement, you should do what you say you're going to do. And I don't. And here's the thing, I would be careful to make the assumption that somebody did not do what they said they're going to do. A lot of times, what will happen is you'll have two people with a big platform that will have a dispute between each other, and they will try to initiate you into their army to get you to buy into their theory that this other person did them wrong, right? They'll get you. I think, what was it? That white lady, the singer, I forgot her name. Not Jessica Simpson, but she's one of those like a Britney Spears type. But anyway, she got into it with the record label that she had done a deal with and made it into this big public campaign where everybody felt that they had done her wrong in her contract and this, that, and the other. And I personally think that's none of our business. I think that, or Megan Thee Stallion, I think she did the same thing. The same record label that made her famous when she was a nobody. Now she's, suddenly saying that they screwed her and they tricked her into signing this deal and all this other stuff. Well, you signed the damn deal. You made that decision. So Taylor Swift, I think was it Taylor Swift who had that problem? I don't think it might have been Taylor Swift. I can't remember. But anyway, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. The point is, I would encourage you to just say, no, I don't care. I don't care about your contract or your memo. You signed the contract. You signed the memo. The contract that matters, in my view, for you is the contract that you signed with the entertainer to give you whatever you paid for. So that means if I paid money, if I signed up, if I paid $50 to come to a concert and I expect Monique and DL or whoever to make me laugh, that's all I care about. If you get up there and you try to spend the time and money that I put into hearing a good comedy show, and you using that time to tell me about the details of your memos and your contracts and what happened with your deal, I'm going to see that as a little bit self-absorbed. I'm going to kind of look at you funny and say, you're not being funny right now. You're not being magical at all. You sound like an angry school teacher right now. You sound like my mom when I didn't clean up my room. And I didn't really come here for that. I did not pay for that. I did not pay to become a minion in your war against some greater power, and I'm not judging it. Again, I'm not saying she doesn't have a right to be upset or a right to rant, but I think a lot of times we get caught up in stuff where we don't know what the fuck's going on. That's my point. You don't know what's going on, and so when I think about, or are you thinking? Let's use another example. Megan Thee Stallion had a big blow up where she was painting her record label as evil because they, I guess, committed the ungodly sin of making her one of the most famous rappers on the planet, and people grabbed onto this idea that somehow our friend Megan had been screwed, that Megan was a victim. I didn't buy into any of that. I said, Megan signed the contract, didn't she? Did they forge her signature? Did they hang her over the balcony? Suge Knight hung a Vanilla Ice over a balcony and made him sign a contract, saying, if you don't sign, we're going to kill you. That's an injustice. That's a problem. So did they do to her what they did to Vanilla Ice? Is that what happened? Or did she sign the contract? Because at that time, there's no guarantee that Megan Thee Stallion was going to take off or be successful at all. At that time, Megan Thee Stallion took the best offer that was available to her. And that's because nobody knew that she was going to blow up. Somebody had to put real money into, probably hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars, into the hope that she was going to blow up and become famous. And if she had flopped and had been a dud and hadn't gone anywhere, it's not like they could come back and say, well, you owe me, you owe me a refund. I want my money back. Oh, I got screwed because she got me to invest $1 million in her career and she didn't even blow up. right? So a lot of times people that don't understand business see things in a way that isn't always logical. And I just really think that in this particular case, I wish Monique was able to operate in a space that allowed her to still be herself. Again, I don't disagree with any of the gripes or issues that she has. I think that she's gonna help somebody. She's probably helped a lot of people by speaking up on these issues. Her story is similar to my story. The only difference between Monique's story and my story is that Monique somehow was able to stay mainstream a lot longer than I was. I wasn't able to be mainstream for very long. And in fact, I got to the point where I gave the mainstream the middle finger. I don't want to be mainstream. I never did. I still don't, because I know I don't fit. I don't want to be where I'm not wanted. So you're never going to see me standing outside of a white man's building complaining about the fact that white finance professors get paid more than black finance professors. I became an entrepreneur, and I make more money than 99.9% of all white finance professors on this earth. And that's because I simply refuse to play that game. I'm not playing by those rules. I operate by a different code. I live within a different system. And that's what I would encourage anybody to do. If you truly believe in this black thing and you're truly ready for this fight, and this is truly something you believe in, don't expect the world to go with you. Don't even expect your friends to back you. Just get with people who understand where you're coming from. Fight the good fight all the way to the end. And 9 times out of 10, it works out. But honestly, there's a lot of pain that comes with it. There's a lot of rejection that comes with it. There's a lot of lost opportunities that'll come with it. There's lots of injustice that comes with it. In fact, I'll give you one real life example. And if you could hit the thumbs up button, please hit the thumbs up button. Excuse me, I'm losing my voice, so I can't talk too much longer. But this actually happened to me in real life. Some of you saw this play out. I was supposed to. I formed a really great relationship with the A.G. Gaston Society down in Birmingham, Alabama, and A.G. Gaston is one of my greatest heroes, at least from an economic standpoint, because he was able to do some amazing things economically and develop industry and jobs for black people back in the 1940s and 50s. He's a great man. So I went there one year, and I spoke to a lot of black people who were what I would define as corporate Negroes. They were black people who understand where people like me come from. When I speak the pro-black stuff, they completely get it, but they also work for white people, so they can't repeat this stuff at their job or they're going to get fired. And so I went and I gave a speech. It went really well. They love me. I love them. And they invited me back the next year. So they were going to invite me back the next year. I was going to get paid $10,000. My speaking fee is actually $20,000, but I was going to go for 10. And I was really looking forward to the event. I told my brother, I said, God, I really loved that group. That was so much fun. I can't wait to go back. Well, something happened with where I got a lot of white media attention because I didn't understand. Because I'm not a fan of Lizzo being used by record labels to promote whorish, obesity supporting behavior amongst black people as a way to get attention to her music. I feel that she's, if you look up black history, if you look up the details and the specifics of it, and my wife's an expert on this, we're not just talking at the side of our neck. There is the mammy stereotype and the Jezebel stereotype. Lizzo is unique in the sense that white people have paid her to be both the mammy and the Jezebel. So the mammy is the great big mammy lady in the kitchen who breastfeeds the babies and all that. And then the Jezebel is just basically the whore. And so Lizzo is loved by white people in a way that she would not be loved if she were a white woman doing the exact same thing that she's doing right now. And so I spoke up on that. I said something about it. It got a lot of attention from a lot of people. I didn't back away from it because every single thing I said was true. I said obesity is killing hundreds of thousands of black people every year. This was before the pandemic. And I don't understand why you think you want to go around telling people obesity is good because they're dying from obesity. And then you saw in the pandemic, lots of black people died from obesity. So I was right. It wasn't. So this is the thing. This is my point in saying that you have to be ready to tolerate injustice if you want to be that fight the power, tell the truth kind of person. They can't debate me. They can't prove me wrong. They never could, right? I'm smarter than all of them, but that's not how the world works. The world ain't fucking fair. So what white media did is what they always do when they can't prove a black person wrong is they will simply talk about that person, but never ever talk to them. So 300 or 400, probably 400 or 500, I don't know, maybe 1,000 newspapers around the world all mention this sexist, sexist fat shaming professor who was attacking Lizzo, right? And not one of those white media outlets called me to say, Professor Watkins, can you explain why would you say something like that? My gosh, they didn't do that. And so what happens then is that the Negroes down in Birmingham, Alabama, with the A.G. Gasson Society, they get nervous. They're like, they're getting calls from their white bosses like, whoa, you're inviting this radical, crazy black man in to come speak. He's not allowed to speak to our Negroes. And next thing you know, they cancel me to come to the speaking event. So it wasn't because I did something wrong. It wasn't because I got locked up. It wasn't because I went out and shot somebody. It was because I spoke a truth that was actually true, but it wasn't comfortable to white supremacist ideology, right? It didn't fit into the narrative that is accepted in mainstream media. And I lost $10,000 from that. The reason I was able to keep going and the reason I did not care is because I know how to make my own money in other ways. I truly was okay with moving on. And it could have been $1 million and I wouldn't have apologized because I'm not going to apologize for telling you the truth. But these are all codes. These are all rules that I made within myself before I ever got to that point. These are agreements I made with Boyce before anybody gave a shit what Boyce had to say. I figured this shit out. I made these decisions back in 2005 that if you about this life, if you're about that whole stand up, fight the power type of life, just know it's gonna come with a lot of unfairness. It's gonna come with a lot of rejection. It's gonna come with a lot of penalties. It's gonna come with a lot of retaliation. It's gonna come with a lot of misunderstanding. It's gonna come with a lot of stuff. And so it's one of those things where this is what comes to mind to me when I see someone who doesn't, in my view, completely understand that. They say, well, why can't I be the loudest person in the room and say things that are going to piss everybody off and still not have the world love me, or still not get the same acceptance as people who go along and go with the flow? Well, because there's a price. Either way, there's always a price. Whether when you fight the power, there's a price. But when you go along to get along, there's a price for that too. So the question is, which price are you willing to pay? If you are pro-black and you're truly in a pro-black struggle, then it seems to me that the price you're willing to pay is that you're going to have to let go of some of the things that you were trained to desire, some of the things that you were trained to want, in order for you to maintain your peace. Or you're going to always feel a day late and a dollar short. You're always going to feel left out. You're always going to feel bitter and resentful. I can, think about it. I mean, I could easily be a guy sitting here who's pissed off and resentful every day that I'm not on TV. Like, well, I'm as smart as that guy on TV. Why does he have a show and I don't have a show? No, I let all that go. I don't want to be on TV. They could offer me a show and I wouldn't take it. I swear to God, I wouldn't take it. I don't want it. Literally. And so ultimately, you gotta understand the game you're playing, pick your poison, and stay with it. When you start straddling, I think that's when you start getting yourself in trouble. In a way, it reminds me of like some of these rappers who are now facing, these crazy criminal charges. And I believe that the reason that they're hemmed up now in these impossible situations is because they didn't make a choice. They didn't make a choice. To me, if you are a rapper and you are from the gutter, if you came out the street, you came out the trap, you got to make a decision, man. Are you a rapper or are you a gangster? Or which one are you going to be? Because if you're a gangster and a rapper, then you're going to probably end up having problems in both areas because you're not fully accepted in either space. You know, Ice-T spoke on this pretty articulately, and a lot of other guys have explained this as well, that guys who will never make a record, who really truly live in that space, are not going to necessarily give you a pass on the consequences of your words and actions just because you're famous. And the police sure as hell aren't gonna give you a pass. And so what you see a lot of times, in my view, is when you see these rappers that are going down with these major criminal charges, where, you know, because they became so famous and whatever, then they felt like they were untouchable, and they start thinking that they're the Godfather and everything else. You know, they literally are going to experience a lesson that came from the depths of fucking hell. Like there is no greater pain than I can imagine a man going through than to be 24 years old and to know that you will never be a free human being ever again for the rest of your life. That you and all of your friends are going to prison forever, and they're not going to let you out, and no one is going to care in the year 2050 that you were the hottest rapper in the world 30 years ago. And it makes me feel very sad for them. It makes me feel really sad, because this is something that's happened, you know, in many occasions. You go back to Tupac. You know, I saw Ice-T's interview about Tupac was great, because I like the fact that he was laying things out in a measured, logical way. I have a lot of respect for some of the OGs that I know. I've never met Ice-T, but I listen to him. I listen to Spice One and some other people, and I like them because they're just smart and logical. They kind of get it. I think that's just what you get when you get over the age of 40. And he was explaining that, you know, that where Tupac was at, where he was trying to go and what he was trying to do, he really shouldn't have been mixing it up with all the street stuff the way that he was. You know, if you want to be a street guy, go be a street guy, but you're the biggest rapper in the world. And so what you're doing put you in a position where you've got so much to lose, and you're around all these people that have nothing to lose, and they have everything to gain by killing you or taking things from you or poisoning your world or getting involved with what you're doing. And it's like, make a damn choice, man. You got to make a choice. So I think the same thing is true when you're talking about black people choosing to be black and not be black, standing up, fight the power and not fight the power, picking the battles that you pick. I would suggest to anybody out here, in my 2 cents, go through your life, make an inventory of your life, and figure out what battles you're willing to pick and which battles you don't want to pick. And the battles that you don't want to pick, don't let anybody bully you into picking a battle that you don't want to pick. But in the battles that you do pick, just pick it. You know, if your battle is, I want to be an independent entrepreneur, I want to make my money as an independent entrepreneur, I don't want to be a corporate guy, I don't want to have a job, then be about that life. Don't waffle back and forth, or you're going to end up losing on both ends. If your battle is this pro-black thing, then okay, be one pro-black. That's it. If your battle is the black family, the black woman, what black wealth, whatever it is you believe in, like, grab that, stand on that, sit on that, don't move. It's gonna storm, it's gonna rain, there's gonna be hard days, it's gonna be awkward times, there's gonna be times where you're gonna think about changing and shifting and all. No, just stand where you're at, and you can build a world around where you are. But when you're moving around and letting people tell you which direction to go and how to be and who to be and what to do and all that, or trying to navigate in multiple worlds, it ain't gonna work. I stay out of worlds that I'm not invited. I don't want to be there. I don't want to go to spaces that involve a lot of people who can't understand who I am and why it matters to me. You know, and that's my 2 cents on the issue. So I guess if I were to summarize my position on Monique and DL, I would say I probably actually ironically side more with Monique in terms of how she feels and why she feels that way, because she's 100% right. And I told you, Monique is a genius. She's the best actress, one of the best ever. I told you, she takes a movie to the next level. If I was making a movie right now and Monique wanted to be in my movie, I would put her in it. I'll be happy to have her in it. Just don't cause no problems or whatever. But I would love to have a Monique in my movie because I think she's that good. But I do understand where DL was coming from, in that I thought that it was inappropriate to use that stage to involve the audience in your personal dispute with DL. I think that that's something that could have been handled separately, backstage. I don't think it was necessarily professional. And I completely understand somebody saying, you know, I totally understand all that, but I don't want to do business like that because that's how people lose money. Chaos like that causes people to lose money, especially when your customers are unhappy because they're sitting in the audience like, we didn't even sign up for any of this. And that's, it's like if you go to McDonald's and you want to get a cheeseburger and fries, and the employee is mad at the assistant manager because they didn't get their paycheck on time, and instead of giving you your food, they take your money, and then they spend the whole time telling you that they're not giving you any food because the manager didn't give them their paycheck on time. I'm like, man, fuck your paycheck. Give me my goddamn cheeseburger. Like, y'all figure this out. That has nothing to do with me. That has nothing to do with me. And I would encourage you to just consider that, you know, like, don't think you got to get involved with these celebrities issues, you know, let them handle it. That's their business. All right. So anyway, that's my 2 cents. Do me a favor, hit the thumbs up button, thumbs up, share, subscribe. Also, if you go to boycewatkins.com, there are, I changed up the list of, there's some stocks that if you click on what Dr. Boyce is buying, there's some stocks that I like. Because I know the economy is doing some crazy things, but there are so many opportunities. This is a great time to be an investor. This is probably one of the best times in years to be an investor. And so feel free to go to boycewatkins.com and take a look. And we also have some other resources on the platform also. And if you're on Instagram, you can hit the link in the bio. So take care, everybody. God bless you. Thank you for listening. And if it took me a little bit long to get my words out, it's because I think I still have a little bit of that COVID brain. So I'm trying to still, it's kind of weird that it is, or I think that is a real thing. It takes time, a little more time to organize your thoughts. So sometimes I'll be like, wait a minute, stuff that normally comes out like that, it takes a second. So I appreciate your patience, and I am getting better, and I thank you for your well wishes. So God bless you, everybody, and I'll see you soon. Take care now. Peace.
Here we are, clan the isms, cataclysm great. Our people out here struggling, trying to make it in this state. Everybody out here doing it, but we the ones who late. Now family, we the ones who gotta delegate. Get that money in the power, never be fake. Stick to co-sign for 3. What did he say? Create jobs, support our own. Educate the same and buy back your home. Got 3 degrees, triple 10. 3 PhDs, now we on the CNN. DBTV, let's talk about negligence. Ignorance is bliss, but we can turn it to intelligence. Believe none of what you hear, half of what you see. Let's break it down here on Dr. Boyce TV. Here we are.